Hey, everybody! I am C83. Here we are again. Today I will tell you about one of my old jobs. The issue of color in clothing design. What we're talking about today is a world-renowned brand, Fendi. Milan Fashion Showcase for Spring or Summer 2025. One of the clothing cases. We know that on many popular platforms around the world are releasing various fashion brands. Popular clothing and colors. In the world of clothing and textiles, there is an unwritten convention. Popular colors are based on all fields. 18 months to release. Clothing is approaching 12 months. Therefore, on various publishing platforms around the world, they will publish their respective clothing brand information and values. We are talking about the Fendi brand today. Launch of a collection of colors for Milan Fashion Week in Spring or Summer 2025. We use Fendi as an example of this color analysis. Among the many clothing brands we went to see, there's a lot of information in even the color trends. If you are an expert, do you know the annual color trends? There are 3 or 4 themes. And within each theme, there may be only one color in total. It's a trend. And the same clothing style is also the same. He wants to be based on previous years and later years. Future sales trends. To set his style and costume design. Trend orientation of subsections. Here we take the basic colors of this brand to do a color analysis. That's the group we see today. It's actually 2 parts. We partly call it clothing. Part of it is his clothing. But between these 2 parts, what is the relationship between their internal colors? The bigger the clothing brand. Let me be very clear. The knowledge of color is just a cultural tendency. And for clothing and its color, how to make subtle combinations, and the transmission of fashion culture. Not many people understand. Let's look at this group. It looks like a very simple style of clothing, from collar to no collar, and they took the characteristics of the denim suit, pockets and cuffs. But his waistline is higher. That's one we're looking at right now. From the perspective of tooling to the perspective of denim clothing, to the end of his costume, fabric color and pattern design, has its own evolutionary process and fashion trends. And here's his bag. Maybe the color and style of this bag, and the style of clothing. There may be some subtle connections. Or it doesn't matter. But we can see it. There is some visual conflict between them. And from the perspective of this bag, we should see some intrinsic connection in hue. But it must have its own color. Some inherent characteristics of language. This is the characteristic of his clothing. We see it. A feature of his fashionable designs. The sleeves are very long and the waistline is relatively high. So he will show the design features of his own unique clothing. These are his pants. We call them slacks. Also done in the style of denim. But the print of his fabric. If it is a printing design, then the design style of its fabric. It's relatively civilian. If it belongs to yarn dyed, then its quality is relatively high. So fashion is always a cultural value, greater than its material value. We saw this one. This bag is on the model. The bag we saw just now. There is a great tendency for a color. Is that it is the relationship between blue and gray. But there was a lot of detail, a lot of clothing. Even some decorative ornaments. But their overall color signature is very distinct. We will later discuss some characteristics of its color. This is the bottom side of it, the front side unfolding. This is the back of it because as far as clothing goes, if there are a lot of decorations on the back close to the body, it will wear out your clothing. And on the front, it's display and decoration. And the characteristics of its products. A more reasonable location. Okay, we got to the point today. We put the specific color of this bag and the color of the clothing. Carry out an interpretation of a color. Again, we're using features of the CDS color language. Use our color scheme express to do a specific interpretation of the color. In the color we see core color. We used his own color. As an extraction, we get 5 extracted colors. And you will find that among these 5 colors, there is a certain connection within him. But his color design has its own style. Yes, there is a big difference. This is his bag we saw. This is the main color and element of his clothing. This is what we extracted. The color characteristics of his clothing and bag. We put the color characteristics of this bag. Let's do a simple interpretation and orientation analysis. The above 2 colors are the colors of his bag. And the 3 colors below. It's the color of the fabric on his clothes. But we also find some inner connections. It is the color of the bag, with colorless as the core gray. Color gray blue. The clothing is based on T30, T40 and B60 and B70. That is to say, this colored one. Clothing colors based on blue and cyan colors. And this bag, the connection between them. Just a little distance. Okay, we'll bring it into our color scheme as usual. Perform quantitative color analysis. We saw those 5 colors just now. It's all in the cyan and B part of the 3 very small hue. And the color of his bag. It's just a color with a gray edge. One is colored, one is colorless. Then their color space. Very, very small. This is the color of the bag. How about this one? That's what we see. The location of the color of his costume. This is the position of the color of the clothing of the clothes. We see the main characteristics of the color of his bag. We see the main features of his clothing. Then that's what we put it. The color of any group of clothing. No matter what brand it is. No matter what color elements. We can all use the intelligent language of color in CDS. Conduct an analysis and judgment because of the visual color of this passage. Basically, it has exceeded the kind of human perception, the ability to judge and control color. His tiny changes, just using these quantified colors. The language of computer and color underlying logic. To be able to see clearly his 2 subtle changes. So this is the internal relationship of his color. We'll talk about that later. What is the relationship between the 2 of them? And part of that is the physical nature of color. Some intrinsic qualities of color. We were in the previous color video. I often talk about the color quality of these 2 parts. Okay, same here. This is its 2-part merged color language. Its position in the triangle. It's his physical color language. It's an expression of his psychochromatic language. And we take these 2 sets of physical and psychological colors. Express. Comparison will find. There is a lot of internal connection between the 2 of them. There are also many relationships that are distant from each other. Description of the same hue and hue. We will find. In their vision, there is some inherent harmony. The first one is that it is a cool color. The attribute relationship of cool colors. In terms of CDS color theory, cool colors are in P and K colors. It's what I call purple and vice. Between these 2 colors it is called a cool color. And this color is in the cool area of the design. Then what about the second one? That is, it is the color design in District 2. We call it a low brightness, low chroma color design. It is in harmony with these 2 color vision. Okay, we'll tell you about this at the end. Clothing color design. Some of their intrinsic subtle color logic. Do an interpretation. Bag color and clothing color. The 2 of them are mixed into one. So we can see that the difference in hue is 9 degrees. That is, the color difference between the bag and the clothing is 9 degrees. And the chroma is in the range of 25. Chroma is in the range of 25. That is to say, they are very similar in hue. And its chroma is only 25 degrees. Is the range of the lowest degree of hue stimulation. And the color of its bag. It's a combination of colorless and colored. And achromatism means colorless consciousness. Colors represent culture, and colorlessness is the expression of lack of culture. And clothing is in the range of T40 to B60 to T30 to B70. This is what's in the blue range. A very small space. In fact, in clothing design, he will have color difference during production. But among these colors, it's basically a very narrow range. That is to say, the designer is using this. In this range we call denim blue, and he uses a low chroma design range. But it gives us the impression that hue color design. There is a slight tendency towards asexual design. That is, asexuality is becoming a neutral color. But in this group of color worlds, no matter what brand is in the world, what kind of large number of clothing designs and color designs, it all has color-independent language interpretation. Here we give more brand designers. When it comes to clothing color design, you have to be very careful. Be sure to find a way. Put it in trace amounts of color change, and the final manifestation of the light source change. The only thing that reflects the value of your brand. Value orientation and consumer's perception of his loyalty is equally important. Okay, we're going to talk about it today. These perceptions of color clothing brands. Give a simple description. If we are behind, there's a lot of color. We will also share the same with you. We hope you enjoy our color channel. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you very much.